はい。
Welcome to episode 16 of Yuzuru Hanyu is my emergency contact, the FanyuFanme podcast. Currently also known as I Miss Yuzu so much, I miss Yuzu. Because the Fanyus have been desperately missing Yuzu ever since he gave one last hug of, I don't care if I'm a grown man, I'm going to run and throw my arms around Bing Dwen Dwen like I'm a 5-year-old meeting Mickey for the first time at Disney World. Don't forget, Yuzu, this is one of the reasons we love you so much. And also wish we could be inside that Bing Dwen Dwen costume when you do that. Actually, scrap the costume. If Yuzuru Hanyu is going to run at me with reckless abandon and throw his arms around me, I do not need a personal bubble of panda standing between us. But I digress. How could I not with that kind of mental image? I think it's pretty clear from the title that this episode is all about the Fanyu's current state. We are in the absence of Yuzu. And while we'll look at our current missing Yuzu, we're going to start by looking back at another time when we were waiting for Yuzu to resurface. Despite being written in 2018, this blog post is eerily similar to our current Yuzu events. It was after the Olympics, it was the Autumn Classic, and it looked like while we were all waiting for Yuzu, Canada was plotting against us.
せーの。
It's official. Canada hates me. Not gonna lie, I don't feel a whole lot of love toward it right now either. And I'm not alone. You know who else hates Canada right now? Everyone not living in it. Well, I should say every Yuzu fan not living in it. In a mere 8 days, our beloved Yuzu is going to skate in the Autumn Classic in Canada. This is his first competition since winning his second Olympic gold medal, and his first competition since his rehabilitation from a career-threatening injury. It's the competition where he reveals his new programs, the competition where he reveals his new costumes, and most importantly, the competition where he reveals his new hair. So what did Canada do? In all their North American wisdom, they said, you know what? Our live stream of the competition will only work for people living in Canada, eh? It was the shot heard round the Fanyu world. I could physically feel the heart-dropping emptiness as the disappointing news swept through the fan universe. Oh, Canada, what have you done? In typical Fanyu fashion, there was a natural progression to our reactions. Phase 1. Emoji avalanche. Oh, did the exclamation point and crying face emojis roll in. Everyone was too stunned to actually use words to react to this death blow. It was the best we could do to get one shaky finger to hit the right reaction. Even still, a few of us accidentally hit the dumpling emoji. Phase 2. Rage. Once we got our bearings, we had to find someone to blame. And boy, did we! Crying faces and rogue dumplings rapidly started turning into angry faces, and words started to find their way off keyboards. Outrageous! Illogical! Savage! I'm pretty sure I learned several new expletives in other languages, but my favorite reaction was one simple, agonized, why? I like to imagine that one came from Yuzu, sitting outside the cricket club taking a break and eating McNuggets while checking Facebook on his iPhone and watching the kawaii bees. Phase 3. Deployment. Suddenly, the Fanyu Facebook wall started to read like the Geek Squad's. The technical jargon was flying. VPN, proxy server, Chrome extension, hotspot shield. I think Chansung may need to look into one of those if he ever gets within 1,000 feet of my sister. Fanyus started tagging every techie they've ever known, all accompanied by one word: help! I imagine hundreds of lonely nerd boys round the world sitting in their basements playing World of Warcraft, suddenly having IMs pop up from girls they haven't heard from since 3rd grade. It may have been a dark day for the Fanyus, but boy did the IT nerds level up. Don't get me wrong, I love me some techies. It's just a trope, I'm running with it. I started to ask myself if any of us are truly tech savvy enough to pull this off. We would need someone super smart, with some mad data skills, and a serious dedication to figure skating, who lives in Canada. And the only person who came to my mind was going to be busy that day, revealing his new programs, new costumes, and new hair. Taking a moment to step outside of the disappointment cloud, I will acknowledge that this news could have been worse. It wasn't that Yuzu is retiring. It wasn't that Yuzu was hurt again. I'm not sure how the Fanyus handled the Yuzu on crutches footage when that happened. I'm glad I missed that era. Spoiler alert, little did I know I wasn't out of the forest on that one yet. It wasn't that Pooh-san had been kidnapped. It wasn't even that Yuzu's costume is going to be, yet again, blue. Spoiler alert, it was. Granted, we won't know that as soon as we had expected. Arigato, Kanada. So I'm trying to be realistic about how devastating a few hour longer wait really is. But we've seen how good I am at being realistic, so my only hope is Japan. Sorry, Obi. Are you actually telling me that no one in Japan gets to see Yuzu season premiere live? Every single person in that country, except for maybe Shoma Uno's mother, has been living for this moment since Yuzu stepped off the podium in February. The news hit around 10 p.m. Eastern Time last night in America. That means change the PM, add the 1, and change the day. It was 11 a.m. in Japan the next day. Come on, future Japan. It is now 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 11 p.m. in Japan. They have had a full day to figure out a plan. Whether that plan is how to broadcast Yuzu's performance live or simply borrow Canada for the weekend, we're yet to see. At this point, as long as that plan enables me to see if Yuzu combs his hair to the side for his free program this season, I really don't care.
完成です。
Little did I know that the very next year I would be at the Autumn Classic, waiting outside the rink in the cold at 5 a.m. to get to experience it all for myself without the need of a VPN, though the hotspot shield was still a definite must. In fact, a multi-episode special series is in the works about FanyuFanme's first, but hopefully not last, time seeing Yuzu in person. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. But before I could have any hope of going to the 2019 Autumn Classic, Canada and I had to go to couples therapy.
せーの。
Good news! Canada and I are back on speaking terms. It took less than a day for Autumn Classic Gate to come to an amicable end. And, as suspected, it's all thanks to Japan. While the majority of the Fanyus were out smashing bottles of maple syrup and changing their pizza topping orders from bacon to ham, I can just hear Cactus saying, "That one didn't land." And the Japan Self-Defense Forces had cracked open Risk and were plotting their next move, one lone Japanese Fanyu walked calmly and fearlessly into the eye of the storm, just like Kaneki with Hide at the end of season. It's too beautiful, I can't. This Fanyu is our hero. This Fanyu did the unthinkable. This Fanyu emailed Skate Canada and asked, "Is this true?" To which Skate Canada replied, "No, it's not. The stream is back on!"
完成です。
Unfortunately, it appears that the universe is onto us, because I have seen more than one Fanyu walk bravely into social media and point blank ask, "Will you let us know you are okay, Yuzu?" with less than productive results. Now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure I've even seen Canada itself post that, because it seems like everyone, Everywhere and everything wants to know the same thing. How is Yuzu? We check our phones every 5 minutes. 5 minutes, 2 minutes, however long it takes to pull the feed down to refresh it. We know it could happen at any minute. Real, current Yuzu news. I'm talking something with a timestamp. The best part has been the Yuzu trending hashtags. Though they do inspire panic, everyone keeps thinking it must mean there's been movement, there's been news, there's been a sighting, but it's just been Yuzu being awesome without doing anything. While we've all been busy typing IMISSYUZU, you. I like to imagine Yuzu waking up, bed hair and all, to find he's trending and wondering, did I go out in public yesterday? And that's what inspired this next post. Not the bed hair. Missing Yuzu.
せーの。
Missing Yuzu. Yes, I miss Yuzu too. It feels silly. How can you miss someone you've never met? And not only miss him, but miss him a lot. Like a whole lot. A whole lot. But I think this is just a testament to what Yuzu does for us. And I don't mean does for us in the way Masquerade or Blinding Lights does something for us, but what his presence, even if only on the TV, adds to our lives. I don't think this is typical, even for celebrities who are very loved by their fans. For one thing, no one disappears quite like Yuzu. Whether they stay in the public eye through their social media accounts or publicists, they maintain some level of presence. But not Yuzu. When Yuzu says,
バイバイ。
he means it. But that's Yuzu. He never does anything halfway. Sure, we get the occasional white wall video or gyoza commercial, but we all know that these were pre-recorded well in advance of Yuzu's radio silence. We all know Yuzu didn't show up at Ajinomoto that very day in the exact same gray hoodie he's worn in the other 6 videos from the past 3 months. And we know he was handed a red Team Japan jacket and sat in a chair at the Olympics with a list of video messages to record. It isn't that we don't appreciate these strategically released crumbs, but we Fanyus know our Yuzu. And when we go to the corner of the gerbil cage to get our daily sip of Yuzu water, we know that bottle was filled up a long time ago. I'm not alone. I see all the tweets, in all the languages, saying the same thing. I miss Yuzu. Sometimes they are poignant, pure poetry. Missing is like an endless river, a tender and soft cloud, a fragrant flower, and a music of bamboo flute. Sometimes they are unintentional poetry, written by a language barrier. We are very miss you. And sometimes there are no words, just a stunning picture of Yuzu, is there any other kind? And sobbing emojis, but those combine to translate effortlessly into every language. I miss Yuzu so much. We aren't just saying it because we think we should. We are saying this because there truly is a feeling that something is missing from our lives, and that something is a someone, and that someone is Yuzu. I believe there is an actual chemical reaction that is missing when you go without Yuzu for so long. The amount of endorphins that are pumped into the Fanyus when Yuzu is present makes it even more obvious when he is missing. There is an actual loss. You are depressed when he is gone because he adds so much when he is around. There isn't just a feeling of, I like watching Yuzu skate. There is a feeling of, my life is vastly better when Yuzu is in it. You simply can't take that away without noticing it and wanting it back. When Yuzu goes into radio silence, the Fanyus need a prescription to hold us over until we can get another natural dose of vitamin Yuzu. As it stands, We all just get in line at the corner YouTube drugstore. And no, we won't accept a generic substitution. We haven't yet reached the point of putting flyers up on telephone poles or trying to get his photo on the side of a milk carton. Is that even still a thing? But I can still feel the Yuzu absence tolerance growing thin. I can just imagine calling the police and filing a missing person report. I would like to report the disappearance of my Japanese figure skater boyfriend. And when was the last time you saw him? On TV, helping a giant panda on ice skates stand up at the Beijing Olympics. If the detective on the phone doesn't know who Yuzu is, I think the next sound would be a dial tone. If they happen to be a Fanyu, they would respond with, "I've already got an APB out on him." I wonder if I would get further if I called animal control to report my missing goat. But while we're all missing Yuzu, I cannot fathom what it must feel like to be Yuzu during these separations. It must feel so strange to be living your life knowing that literally millions of people want to know what you're going to do next, how you are doing, if your ankle hurts. Fixing lunch, millions of people wonder how you're doing. Folding laundry, millions of people wonder how you're doing. Reading tweets from people wondering how you're doing, millions of people wonder how you're doing. This Yuzu drought has a higher base value than any Yuzu drought we've experienced before. We may have waited with no word, but there was less uncertainty as to if he would eventually return. Whether we knew he was determined to go to the Pyeongchang Olympics, was committed to an ice show, or wanted to land the quad axel, there was a next on Yuzu's to-do list. When the Zambonis come out, you know that if you just wait, the skaters will return after the ice resurfacing, but we are currently in a state of perpetual Yuzu resurfacing. To make matters worse, despite his incredibly brave and smiling face at all the post-free skate interviews and gala, we know that Yuzu went into this hiatus hurting, in body and in spirit. What's the base value for the heartbroken for Yuzu quad sal? And so we don't know what to hope. Do we hope for recovery and return? Do we hope for release and that other word that starts with R that we refuse to say out loud? Do we hope for something completely Yuzu that we never even saw coming? Or do we keep that hope on hold until at least the barrier closes behind the last Zamboni? I want him to live his life. I want him to be happy. Not just happy, so happy. I want him to feel free to make the decisions he wants to make. But I would be lying if I didn't say that I also hope he comes back to us. Because I am very miss him, like an endless river. Sobbing emoji face.
完成です。
When writing that blog post, I couldn't help but think about how differently the "Have you seen this person?" part of a missing person poster would read if it was for Yuzu. Instead of the basic inquiry for information, "Have you seen this person?" it would be read with astonishment at his amazingness. "Have you seen this person?" And a phone number for a support group if the answer was no. Because even when Yuzu is missing, we Fanyus know there is no one else for whom we would rather wait. And while we wait for the Yuzu resurfacing, you can always follow FanyuFanme on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Redbubble, YouTube, or FanyuFanme.com. We'll be there for as long as it takes. But for now, I have to go refresh my Twitter feed, because there's just no telling what I've missed while talking with all of you. Like perhaps an announcement that Yuzu will be appearing at all the venues for Fantasy on Ice 2022. Nah, there's no way that could have happened. Until next time, say it with me, I miss Yuzuru Hanyu. The FanyuFanme podcast is a Back to the Forest production.
Back to the forest? Just kidding.